Welcome to Learn Yourself. Today we are going to study about carbon and its compound. This chapter is under ICSE Standard 8 syllabus. In 10th standard we are going to study organic chemistry, a completely new topic of chemistry, and this is a branch of a chemistry. So this is just a base of that organic chemistry, and in this chapter we are going to study some allotropic form of carbon. In allotropic form of carbon, crystalline and amorphous, there are two types of carbon forms. In amorphous, we will study many form of it like coal, lamp black and so on. Whereas in crystalline form, we are going to study diamond and graphite. And going further, we are going to study two main compound, that is oxides of carbon, carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, thoroughly with their chemical equation, physical property, chemical property and its importance. So let us start our chapter with a two division of a chemistry, that is organic chemistry and inorganic chemistry. In both this branch of chemistry, carbon is involved. But when we are talking about organic chemistry, it's mainly depending upon carbon and its various combination with hydrogen and oxygen. So methanol like compound are coming in under organic chemistry. When we are talking about inorganic chemistry, then it consists of oxides of carbon, carbonates, bicarbonates and carbonic acid. So all these compound are coming under inorganic chemistry, whereas organic compounds like methanol and all are coming under inorganic chemistry. Now when we are talking about a carbon and occurrence of carbon, then it is available in free state also and it is available in combined state also. In free state the example is coal, whereas in combined state hydrocarbon, petroleum product and limestones are the example. So now let us start our chapter with allotropy form of carbon. So now let us understand what is the meaning of allotropy. Here we are talking about two allotropy form of carbon. Both are crystalline and we are discussing about a diamond and graphite. These two are allotropy form of carbon. They both are under crystalline form. So here let us see that what is allotropy. Allotropy is occurrence of element in more than one physical form. So here our element will remain same, that is carbon. Element is same and that is carbon in both diamond and in graphite structure. But they will show a different physical property, but they will show same chemical property. Why different physical property? Because here we can see these two are the rough diagram of diamond and graphite. Structure of both are different. Their atomic arrangement is different. So their physical appearance is different and that's why their physical properties are different. But they both consist of only one atom, that means only one type of atom, and that is carbon. Carbon will react in same way in both the form. So their chemical property will remain same. But their physical property will change because their atomic arrangement is not same. So this is one important reason when carbon allotropy will be there, that they exhibits different physical properties but same chemical properties. So what we are going to write as an answer is allotropy means, or allotropy is a result of different atomic arrangement. This is very important, that it is different atomic arrangement in a crystal structure. But element remains same, that is carbon. This is important. Element will remain same and that is carbon. So they will show or they will possess similar chemical properties. Only arrangement of atoms will differ. That's why the physical property will be different. But the element will remain same. So it will show a same chemical properties. Under allotropy of carbon, we are going to study two main form of it, that is, one is crystalline, other one is amorphous. Crystalline means the structure of a substance is crystal-like, whereas amorphous is a structure of a substance is powder-like. So here in the crystalline structure, first is diamond, other one is graphite, and the third one is fullerene. It also called blacksmith's fullerene, and it is C60. That means there are 60 atoms of carbon arranged in pentagon or in a hexagon manner, and this we are obtaining by condensed vaporized graphite. We know diamond and graphite very well, and fullerene is new to us, but here we are not going in depth of fullerene. Only just we need to understand that there are 60 atoms present in one molecule of fullerene. So these three are under crystalline allotropy of carbon, whereas in amorphous allotropy of carbon, four main substances. First is charcoal, lamp black, coal and coke. Whereas in charcoal there are three different charcoal. First is wood charcoal, then sugar, and then bone charcoal. So now we are going to study diamond and graphite in detail, and we will see that even though they are having the same element, carbon, in them, how they are different physically, so that they are showing a different physical properties. So under diamond and graphite, there are series of criteria which we are going to discuss and we are going to compare. First we are comparing them for appearance and their lattice structure. So first is diamond occurs naturally, whereas graphite is also occurs naturally. Both are occurring naturally, but we can also synthesize them easily. We can prepare artificial diamond by subjected pure carbon to high temperature and pressure. We know how naturally diamond form under earth crust. When a carbon is undergoing a very high temperature and pressure, then it is converting into diamond. So the same thing we are doing for artificial method, that carbon will be subjected to high temperature and pressure. Then for the graphite, how we are preparing it artificially? By thermal decomposition of silica carbide. This is SiC. The name of this compound is silica carbide. So both are occurring naturally, and we can also synthesize them artificially. Then shape. Diamond shape is octahedral. Then shape of graphite is flat and it is layered. Layered means this is a one layer and another layer is just below that. So that is how the crystal of graphite is arranged. Now when we are talking about a lattice structure of diamond and graphite, so for diamond it is a tetrahedral unit. Then one carbon attached to four other carbon atoms in this structure, and it is a regular tetrahedron. So diamond is tetrahedral unit and one carbon is attached to four other carbon atoms. Whereas graphite is hexagonal unit. It is hexagonal unit, and here the one carbon is attached with three other carbon atoms. And it is a layer structure, and both layers are placed one above the other, and they are held together by weak van der Waals force of attraction. So this is the basic difference in diamond and graphite about their lattice structure, that this is a tetrahedral unit whereas this is hexagonal unit. Here one carbon atom is attached with four different or other carbon atom, whereas here one carbon atom is attached with three different carbon atoms. Now let us see difference in their physical properties. So color of diamond is transparent, whereas graphite is blackish grey and it shows the metallic luster. Now nature, it is hardest natural substance till now known to us. It is a hardest form of natural substance. Then strength and uniformity lies in its structure. It is stable and rigid crystal lattice. It is very hard And why it is very hard? Because strength lies in its uniformity of arrangement of carbon atoms. It is stable and rigid crystal lattice, whereas graphite is the softest substance and it gives a mark on the paper and it also gives a greasy feel. And why it is giving a greasy feel? Due to the parallel layers of carbon atoms held together by weak van der Waals force. Earlier we have seen that how the layers of graphite have been arranged like one below the other, and they are held together by weak van der Waals force of attraction, and due to this it gives a mark on paper and it also gives a greasy feel. So the reason of that is the layers of carbon atom. This is important because it is arranged in the layers. So these layers are held together by weak van der Waals force of attraction. Then density of diamond is very high because a distance between carbon-carbon bond is less. So density is very high in diamond, whereas in graphite it has a low density because it is an open crystal structure. It is an open crystal structure and a distance between carbon-carbon two atom is very high. Compared to diamond it is more, and anyhow it is more, so that's why it shows a low density. Then diamond is non-conductor of electricity because it doesn't have any free ions which can pass electricity, and it is poor conductor of heat. Non-conductor of electricity and poor conductor of heat, whereas graphite is a very good conductor of electricity. We can use graphite as one of the electrode when we are using electrolysis process because graphite gives free ions. So it is good conductors of electricity and as well as heat. So this is all about their physical property. Diamond is the hardest substance, whereas graphite is softest substance. Diamond is non-conductor of electricity and poor conductor of heat, whereas graphite is good conductor of electricity and heat. All these properties are just because their atomic arrangement in their lattice structure. Now going forward we are going to discuss about chemical properties of diamond and graphite. Under chemical properties of diamond and graphite we are going to discuss three criteria, that is its reactivity, then burning in air or with oxygen, and while we are heating it, and how they are reacting with any strong oxidizing agent and reducing agent. So first is reactivity. So is diamond reactive? No, it is very inert. Why? Because it has very compact structure and it will not allow any reactant to react on that. So it is very inert. Whereas graphite is slightly more reactive compared to diamond because of its open lattice structure. So this can be asked in reason that why diamond is very inert whereas graphite is slightly reactive. So the answer is it has a very compact structure whereas a graphite has open structure. So it is more prone to any oxidizing agent. Now when we are talking about burning a diamond in air or under oxygen, then it will burn at 900 degrees Celsius. When we are heating it, then it will at 800 degrees Celsius it will catch fire and produce carbon dioxide. So oxides of carbon it will produce. Whereas graphite does not burn in the air, and while we are heating it at 700 degrees Celsius it will form carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, traces of carbon monoxide and ashes. Then how about reaction with other chemical reagent? Then it will do not react with alkalis and acid because it has very strong lattice structure. Now whereas graphite will react with strong oxidizing agent and it will give us carbon dioxide, and strong oxidizing agent like concentrated nitric acid and concentrated sulfuric acid. So this difference are also based on their structure. Diamond is very compact structure, so it is very inert, whereas the graphite has layer structure. Both layers are held together by weak van der Waals force of attraction, and it has low density, and two carbon-carbon atoms are at far distance. So it is more prone to attack under any kind of reagent, especially oxidizing agent. So we can say that graphite is slightly more reactive compared to diamond. So these were the main differences among diamond and graphite under their reactivity, their lattice structure, their chemical property and their physical property. Here we are discussing uses in detail because it also gives us a reason for that. So this can be asked in reason in 1 mark and 2 mark, that why diamond is used in particular activity. There you have to mention that because of its structure or because of its arrangement, what is the main reason behind that use. So let us start this with first use, that is drilling. So here we are going to discuss 3 main uses. First is drilling, second is cutting, and third one is we are using this as a gem. So why we are using this as a drilling and how we are using it? As a tip in deep boring drills. So diamond will placed at the tip of a boring drills. And why we are using this? Because it is a hardest substance known to us till now. And this hardness is due to the strength and uniformity of carbon-carbon bond. Earlier we have discussed that it is an octahedral lattice structure. So this hardness is due to the strength and uniformity of carbon-carbon bond. And it has a stable, rigid crystal lattice structure. So that's why we can use it in boring drill. Generally, which kind of diamond we are using in this is black diamonds we are using. Then in cutting also we are using that in cutting glass and other diamonds. Sometimes when we are synthesizing diamond and some natural diamond also, we need to cut it to give a specific shape and polish. So in cutting glass and to cut other diamond we are using diamond. So why we are using it? Because it is a hardest substance and it has a stable rigid crystal lattice. These two reasons are there for why we are using diamond in drilling and in cutting. Here diamond we are also using as a gem, and that is we are using in jewelry. So generally colorless cut and polished diamond we are using in jewelry. And why we are using it? Because it has a sparkling brilliance, and that is due to the high refractive index. One of the diamond's property is it has a high refractive index. So because of that we are using it in jewelry. So whenever any light will fall on it, because of its high refractive index it will shine brilliantly. So we are using it as a gem. So here there are 3 main uses, that in drilling, cutting and in jewelry making we are using a diamond, and in drilling and cutting it is the hardest substance, so that's why we are using it, and in jewelry we are using it because it has a high refractive index. Now moving towards graphite. One of the main use of graphite is that we are using graphite as a lead of a pencil. So generally we are mixing a clay and graphite and we are making a lead of a pencil. Here the clay will give a hardness to the pencil lead. So if it is brittle, then the clay percentage in the lead is at the higher side. So now why we are using graphite as a lead of the pencil? Because the structure of graphite is responsible for that. The parallel layers of carbon atoms held by van der Waals force of attraction, the weak van der Waals force of attraction. So layers slide over one another. Earlier we have seen how the graphite layers are there. So they will slide over one another and making it slippery and thereby leaving a mark on paper. So this is the reason why we are using graphite as a pencil lead. Now it also used as a lubricant. In bicycle chain and all, we are using this as a lubricant because this is a non-volatile and non-sticky form of lubricant. And again, it's parallel layers, and the layers of the carbon which held by weak van der Waals force of attraction, and they will slide over one another and they will give a nice lubricant effect to a machine. Then it also acts as a high temperature lubricant. In simple machine also it is used as lubricant, whereas the high temperature is used in that machinery also. This is used as a lubricant. Why? Because ordinary lubricant oil will get charred due to high temperature, whereas graphite will withstand with high temperature. So that's why it is used as high temperature lubricant. So here there are two different answers for two different applications. First is a simple lubricant like bicycle chain and all, where we are using there the same. This answer you can copy that because of its parallel layers and they are held together by weak van der Waals force of attraction. So it gives a non-volatile and non-sticky lubrication effect to the machine. Now when they are asking that it is also used as high temperature lubricant, then we need to write that if we are taking an ordinary lubricant, then it will get charred and it will not withstand with high temperature, whereas graphite will withstand with high temperature. Now which form we are using as a lubricant? Then it is aqueous suspension of graphite in oil or in petroleum jelly. So in oil and in petroleum jelly we are adding graphite, and this form is aqueous suspension. So this form of lubricant we are using in machinery and in simple machine. Another two use of graphite is used as refractory crucible and it is used as electrode. So graphite lined crucible is used in manufacturing of steel and alloy and etc. So graphite lined crucible is made up of mixture of clay and graphite. So here why it is used in manufacturing of steel and alloy? Because graphite can withstand with high temperature and it is a good conductor of heat. So two qualities of graphite we are using it here to use this as a refractory crucible. First is it can withstand with high temperature, and second it is good conductor of heat. So that's why we are using this in manufacturing of refractory crucible. Then next is electrode. Graphite used as electrode and it is inert electrode. So in electroplating in dry cell we are using this as an electrode. So why? Because graphite is a good conductor of electricity and it is relatively inert. So it will not take part in reaction. And chemically also it is inactive with acid. So whenever we are using this in electrolytic cell, it will remain inactive and it will not react with any electrolyte or any acid. So that's why we are use this as inert electrode in electroplating, and in dry cell also we are using it. So these are the important and main uses of diamond and graphite. From these topics, reasons are likely to be asked based on their uses and it will relate to its chemical and physical property. So these topics are very easy. Only you need to read it, refer it, the points the way I have written it in short form. If you will read it like this, then you will easily remember it in exam and you can write it in exam. Earlier we have studied what is carbon, what is its property. We have seen the allotropy form of carbon, and that is into crystalline form. Now we are going to study other form of carbons. These are amorphous form of carbon. In this, first is coal, second is coke, and third is lamp black, and the fourth one is wood charcoal. Here I have noted down some important points like this so you can compare them and you can remember it easily. Now here, first we will see about coal. So what is coal? It is a slow bacterial decomposition of vegetable matter, and after a long period of time, whatever we will get is a coal. But again, it is depending upon how much percentage of carbon is remaining in that. If you are taking it out after millions and millions of years, then a complete vegetative matter has been transformed into carbon. So in that case, the carbon percentage is more and that coal is superior quality coal. If you are taking out within a little small period of time, then a complete vegetable matter has not been transformed into carbon. So there are some impurities remaining in that. So carbon percentage will be less and impurities will be there. As the impurities will be more and carbon percentage will be less, that the quality of coal will be inferior in that case. So here, these are the different types of coal according to the percentage of carbon remaining in that. This is named pit. It has 60% of carbon and 40% of other impurities. Lignite has 65% of carbon. Bituminous coal has 85% of carbon. It is hard in structure and it is smoky. Anthracite has 90% of carbon, and this coal is termed as superior quality coal and it is a non-smoky. That means whenever you are ignited, the smoke will not be generated because of the less percentage of impurities. Now the uses of coal is used to manufacture of coke, coal gas and synthetic petrol. Now coming to coke. So when bituminous coal, we are heating it at 1300 degrees Celsius in absence of air, we will get a coke. This process is known as destructive distillation of coal. This is important. When bituminous coal we are heating in absence of air at 1300 degrees Celsius, then we will get coke, and this process is known as destructive distillation of coal. Here, these are the properties of coke, that it is black, it is porous in nature, then non-conductor of heat. It is non-conductor of heat and it is strong reducing agent. So where we can use it, these are the uses, that we can use it in fuel, we can use it to make water gas and producer gas. Now coming to lamp black, substance, whatever substance which is rich in carbon, when we will ignite it with kerosene oil, we can make a lamp black. What is a lamp black? Whatever the sooty flame is coming out of that material, that soot consists of lamp black. So that soots will settle down and we will scrap it and we will collect it as a lamp black. Now what it is? These are the properties of it, that it is a soft black powder. It is the purest form of carbon. It is non-conductor of heat and electricity. Then this used in printers ink, black shoe polish, black print and in cartridge. Wherever the black print we need it, we can use this lamp black. So these uses are very easy. Properties are also very easy. Only you need to remember this. So if you will remember this in a point-wise manner, it will be easy for you to remember. Now going to a wood charcoal. Now we will discuss about wood charcoal. So wood charcoal we will obtain by destructive distillation of wood. Earlier we have seen that what is destructive distillation. So this we are obtaining by destructive distillation of wood. Here products of destructive distillation of wood are three types. First is liquid, then gaseous, and then whatever is left is known as residual. So whatever liquid product we are getting is known as pyroligneous acid and wood tar. Gaseous product what we are getting is known as wood gas, and whatever residue is left at the end is known as wood charcoal. So by destructive distillation of wood, we will get three types of product, and whatever residual product is remaining left over is our wood charcoal. It is greyish black, soft and porous solid. The large surface area it has, and that will absorb large volume of gas into that. So it has an absorption capacity. To increase this capacity of absorption, we have to perform some activation on that. So it is termed as activated wood charcoal. So whenever it is written that this is activated wood charcoal, that means it has a capacity to absorb gases or liquid on its surface. Adsorption is surface phenomena. Here we are not talking about absorption. When you are dipping a foam into a water, then it will completely absorbing a water. Whenever you are dipping a cloth into a water, it is completely absorbing a liquid. That means it has gone till the core of the material. The complete material is wet. Here we are talking about adsorption. This is D, and in absorption we are using B. So adsorption means the material has been absorbed only till the surface layer. It has not gone till the core. So that phenomena is known as adsorption. So this adsorption is surface phenomena. So this activated wood charcoal has adsorption capacity of any poisonous gas. That means if the gas is there or any foul smell is there. Generally in household use, we are keeping activated charcoal in the refrigerator so that the foul smell or any stale food smell will be there. Then this activated charcoal will absorb that and that smell will get removed. So this activated charcoal will absorb that smell. Retorts at 900 degrees Celsius, passing steam over it. How can we activate that? Then this is a process for that. That retorts at 900 degrees Celsius and passing the steam on it, so that the surface impurity, whatever the impurities remain on the surface of the charcoal, will get removed. So that's why this capacity will increase 100-fold. In non-activated charcoal also the capacity is there, but it is very less. So when we are passing a steam on it, we are removing the surface impurities. So that its surface will become open and it will be without impurities. So its capacity will be increased by 100-fold by doing this procedure. Now these are some of the properties, chemical properties of wood charcoal, that we can use it for reducing reagent. When zinc oxide will react with carbon, it will give us zinc and carbon monoxide. So this we can use it as a reducing agent. Another important property is we can produce a water gas from that. So when carbon and water will react and the temperature is at 1000 degrees Celsius, we will get a mixture of carbon monoxide and hydrogen. So this combined mixture is known as water gas. So to make a water gas, we can use this wood charcoal. Now what are the uses of wood charcoal? Then we can use it in household fuel. Then because of its adsorption capacity, we can use it in gas mask and sewer. And in some organic coloring matter, we can also use it in as a decolorizing agent. So this too is for adsorption capacity, this is for decolorizing agent, and this is as household fuel. Along with the wood charcoal, there are two other charcoal, that is sugar charcoal and bone charcoal. So sugar charcoal we are getting through the destructive distillation of sugar, and bone charcoal we are getting by destructive distillation of bone. So these were the amorphous form of carbon that were coal, coke, lamp black and wood charcoal. Under carbon dioxide, we are going to study the discovery of carbon dioxide, then occurrence of carbon dioxide and general method to prepare carbon dioxide. Later on we are going to study the laboratory preparation method of carbon dioxide, followed by physical and chemical properties of carbon dioxide. So let us start our topic with discovery of carbon dioxide. In discovery of carbon dioxide, three scientists have given their share. First is Van Helmont, and he found it via charcoal burning activity. Then Joseph Black has prepared it via heating calcium carbonate, and later on Anthony Lavoisier formulated it, synthetically formulated it by oxides of carbon, and he showed that carbon dioxide is oxides of carbon. Then occurrence. Carbon dioxide occurs in nature in free state as well as in combined state. We know that in free state, carbon dioxide is present in the air in 0.03% volume in the air, and via burning and respiration process, carbon dioxide is adding up in the nature. Then in combined state, carbon dioxide is present in combined state in earth crust, and the forms of carbon dioxide is magnesium carbonate and calcium carbonate. So when we will heat this compound, the carbon dioxide gas will evolve from this. Now we will study the general methods for preparation of carbon dioxide. So first is, while we are burning the carbon compound in air. Now what is the meaning of carbon compound? Compound in which the carbon remain present. Those compounds are termed as carbon compound. So when we are burning this kind of compounds in air, the carbon dioxide gas will evolve. So when coke, any form of charcoal or coke, when we are burning, then the carbon dioxide gas will liberate it. So carbon plus oxygen, and any burning is supported by atmospheric oxygen. So we can also say that this carbon is reacting with atmospheric oxygen. So whenever any burning reaction will be there, the compound which is burning is reacting with atmospheric oxygen. So here we will get carbon dioxide and heat will be liberated at the end. That means this reaction is exothermic in nature. Then next is methane. The formula is CH4. When we are burning it, that means when it is reacting with oxygen, then carbon dioxide and water molecules will be liberated and heat will be liberated at the end. So this reaction is also exothermic. These products we are getting via burning, so that's why these reactions are exothermic. The large amount of heat is liberated at the end. In this, the carbon dioxide gas alone will be generated because it is a form of carbon alone. Here methane gas is there. In that, carbon is attached with hydrogen. So that hydrogen will form water molecule, and this carbon will form carbon dioxide and heat will be liberated, and this reaction is also exothermic. Now we will see when carbon containing compound will react with acid, then what will happen. Now we will see the action of dilute mineral acid on carbonates and bicarbonates. Why carbonates and bicarbonates? Because they do have carbonate group, and this carbonate group, when we will heat it, the carbon dioxide gas will evolve at the end. So let us see the reaction. When sodium carbonate, we will mix it with dilute sulfuric acid, we will get Na2SO4, that is sodium sulfate, carbon dioxide and water. Here we need to understand that in this hydrogen and sulfate, two ions are there. In this sodium and carbonate, two are there. Carbonate is of course going to make carbon dioxide. So this positive ion will react with this negative ion. So this salt we will get from that. So any carbonate, any metallic carbonate will be there. That metal is going to react with the negative ion of acid. So it will form sodium sulfate. This carbonate will make carbon dioxide as a product. Then the left one is hydrogen. So that hydrogen will form water molecule in each reaction. That is how this reaction you can remember. Next is calcium carbonate. it is reacting with dilute hydrochloric acid, it will make calcium chloride and carbon dioxide gas from this, and remaining hydrogen will form water molecule. Now these two are metal carbonates, that means sodium carbonate, calcium carbonate. Now we are going to metal hydrogen carbonate or bicarbonates. These are termed as bicarbonate. So sodium bicarbonate, when it is reacting with dilute hydrochloric acid, this metal is going to react with this negative ion. So it will form NaCl. This carbonate will make carbon dioxide, and this hydrogen will make water molecule as a product. In next reaction, calcium bicarbonate, when it is reacting with dilute nitric acid, we will get calcium nitrate, carbon dioxide and 2 molecules of water. Why 2 molecules of water? Because here the hydrogen's amounts are double. So that's why we will get 2 molecules of water and 2 molecules of carbon dioxide, because here HCO3 is twice. So that's why this amount will be double compared to this reaction. So that is how you can remember the reaction, and that is how you can complete the reaction. Whenever the half of the reaction will come in exam and they will ask you to complete the reaction. So these were some of the general methods to prepare carbon dioxide. Earlier we have discussed some of the general method of preparation of carbon dioxide. Here this method is known as laboratory preparation of carbon dioxide. In this we have taken one conical flask. In that we are adding dilute hydrochloric acid via Thiessen funnel. In conical flask we have taken calcium carbonate. These are the marble chips, which is a source of carbonate, and later on it will give us our desired product, that is carbon dioxide. So here via Thiessen funnel we are adding a drop wise hydrochloric acid, and here we have arranged one more gas delivery tube which is going inside a vacant jar. It is coming till here, and when the reaction will start, the carbon dioxide gas will come through this conical flask. It will travel through this delivery tube and it will come in this gas jar. Here we are collecting carbon dioxide gas via upward displacement of air, because carbon dioxide gas is heavier compared to air. Now let us see step by step the procedure. This is our reaction. Calcium carbonate, which we are getting through a marble chip. So this is calcium carbonate. When it is reacting with dilute hydrochloric acid, it will give us calcium chloride. So when reaction will be completed, whatever mass is there in conical flask is of calcium chloride. Carbon dioxide gas will be generated, and that gas will travel through this delivery tube, and we are collecting it in a gas jar. And water will be generated through this reaction. It will remain in this conical flask. Now if required we can arrange 2 other washer bottle, and we can arrange those 2 bottles over here. So this gas delivery tube will go to the first washer bottle, and then from that a second, and then from second we are collecting the carbon dioxide gas. When we need this too, when a residual hydrochloric acid is coming along with carbon dioxide gas, then we need to arrange washer bottle of potassium hydrogen carbonate, that is potassium bicarbonate. So when we are arranging this will absorb the residual hydrochloric acid, and our carbon dioxide gas will be free from the impurities of residual hydrochloric acid. Then second washer bottle we can arrange of concentrated H2SO4, which will absorb moisture. So our carbon dioxide gas will be free from the moisture. So when we are going to arrange this too, when we are getting the impurities of hydrochloric acid and moisture along with our carbon dioxide gas, otherwise it is not needed. So this two we can arrange if required. Now collection. So we are collecting carbon dioxide gas via upward displacement of air. Why? Because carbon dioxide gas is 1.5 times heavier than air. So this can be asked in reason, that why carbon dioxide gas is collected by upward displacement of air. What is the meaning of upward displacement of air? Once the carbon dioxide gas is coming from this delivery tube, carbon dioxide gas will remain here and that much air will go upward. Because carbon dioxide gas is heavy, so it will remain down and air will be lifted up. So that space will be covered by carbon dioxide gas and air will go up. So we are saying that we are collecting carbon dioxide gas via upward displacement of air. So here you can write the answer that carbon dioxide gas is 1.5 times heavier than air. So it is quite heavy. So that's why we can collect carbon dioxide gas via upward displacement of air. Then why we are not using this two? So this also can be asked in reason. So here this is the another reason and this is the another reason. So why we are not using dilute H2SO4 at the place of hydrochloric acid in the method of laboratory preparation of carbon dioxide? So when we are using dilute H2SO4, this will be the reaction, and in this we are getting CaSO4 instead of CaCl2. So where this CaSO4 calcium sulfate will form on the surface of calcium carbonate, because concentrated sulfuric acid is very reactive. Immediately it will come in a contact with calcium carbonate and it will form insoluble hard coating of calcium sulfate on marble chip. So once that coating will come, our marble chip will stop reacting and it will not, this reaction will not proceed further, and in turn we will not get our product. So this reaction will stop once that coating will form on the surface of calcium carbonate. So that's why we are not using dilute sulfuric acid at the place of dilute hydrochloric acid, because this reaction will stop the formation of carbon dioxide gas. So that's why we are not using sulfuric acid. The next reason is why we are not collecting carbon dioxide gas with water, because carbon dioxide gas is fairly soluble in water. So once we are taking the water, the carbon dioxide gas will start dissolving in water and we will not get proper yield. So that's why we are not collecting carbon dioxide gas with water, and we are collecting carbon dioxide gas along with vacant jar, and that is with air. Along with these reasons, this too also can be asked that when can we require a potassium bicarbonate water bottle and when can we require concentrated sulfuric acid water bottle. So we can write the reason that when residual impurities come along with carbon dioxide, we can arrange potassium bicarbonate water bottle which will absorb the residual hydrochloric acid. And when the moisture is come along with carbon dioxide, we can arrange the water bottle of concentrated sulfuric acid. So it will absorb the moisture. But when these impurities we will observe, then only we will arrange. Otherwise, the gas delivery tube we can directly arrange through the conical flask. Earlier we have studied the laboratory preparation of carbon dioxide and we have seen some of its property. Here we are discussing in detail. It is colorless, odorless and tasteless gas. The nature of carbon dioxide is non-poisonous. It is not a poisonous gas, but when a person will come in a contact with carbon dioxide, he or she may die because it won't support the respiration. So a person may die in carbon dioxide atmosphere as it is not supporting respiration, and person will die because of the deficiency of oxygen and not because of the carbon dioxide. Now density of carbon dioxide, we have earlier seen that it is heavier than air and it is 1.5 times heavier than air. About solubility, it is fairly soluble in water. We can liquefy carbon dioxide when we are cooling at -78 degrees Celsius. Then it will form a white substance, white solid substance that we will termed as dry ice. So dry ice we will form at -78 degrees Celsius. So carbon dioxide at high atmospheric pressure, and suddenly we are allowing it to expand through the nozzle. So like this we can make a dry ice or a solid form of carbon dioxide gas. Now we will see the chemical properties of carbon dioxide. In this we are going to see carbon's reaction with water, ammonia, carbon as a non-metal, as a metal with magnesium, and with lime water. So first is water. So when carbon dioxide is reacting with water, we will get carbonic acid. This is a weak acid, and this acid we can see in cola drinks or in cold drinks. So this is termed as carbonic acid, and this is a weak acid. Then next is reaction with ammonia. So when ammonia is reacting with carbon dioxide at elevated temperature and high pressure, we will get urea. The formula is 2 molecules of NH2 is combined with CO. So this is the formula of urea, and we will get water. This urea is used as a fertilizer. Then third reaction is with carbon as a non-metal. So when carbon dioxide is reacting with non-metal carbon, we will get carbon monoxide, and this is a poisonous gas. Then with metal, magnesium, when carbon dioxide is reacting, we will get magnesium oxide and carbon. When any basic oxide, any metal oxide is basic oxide. So sodium oxide, magnesium oxide reacting with carbon dioxide, we will get metal carbonates. When with lime water it is reacting, lime water's molecular formula is calcium hydroxide, that is CaOH twice. So when carbon dioxide is reacting with lime water, it will turn lime water milky. And why we will see the lime water turn milky? Because of the formation of calcium carbonate, and this is a precipitation reaction. So as a solid compound we will get calcium carbonate and water molecule. When we are adding excess of carbon dioxide in lime water, then we will get calcium bicarbonate. Otherwise we will get calcium carbonate. With excess of carbon dioxide we will get calcium bicarbonate. So these were the properties of carbon dioxide. We have seen the physical and chemical properties. So why these uses are important to study? Because behind each and every use there is one particular scientific reason. So we need to study that, and this kind of questions are likely to come in exam. That why this is used as this application, and that is for carbon dioxide. So we have to mention that particular reason, and that scientific reason we have to mention it. So first is, it is used in soda manufacturing companies. Why? Because what soda we are preparing by passage of carbon dioxide into water under pressure, and we often see that whenever cola bottle or soda bottle we are opening, with lot of pressure the effervescences are coming out. Why? Because we have dissolved carbon dioxide into that under pressure. So when we are opening a bottle cap, that pressure is released and carbon dioxide gas is evolved out. So because of that we are using carbon dioxide in soda manufacturing, and we know that solubility of carbon dioxide is fairly high in water. So it is easily soluble in the water. Now second is dry ice. Sudden evaporation results in freezing and formation of dry ice. This is, carbon dioxide freezes very easily compared to water. So The sudden evaporation results in freezing and formation of dry ice. That's why it is used in refrigerant and for preservation of food. It is very easy to freeze the carbon dioxide gas. So that's why it is used in refrigerant and preservation of food. Then third is for the preparation of baked food we are using carbon dioxide. How? Because we are using baking powder. So how we are manufacturing baking powder? With the reaction of these three compounds we can make baking powder, that is sodium hydrogen carbonate or sodium bicarbonate plus potassium hydrogen tartrate and starch. When these three we are mixing, we can make baking powder, and it has a huge application in baking industry. Third is for the extinguishing fire. As a fire extinguisher, we are using carbon dioxide because it is non-combustible, it is non-supporter of combustion. So we can use it in fire extinguisher. Then fifth one is photosynthesis. We know that plant use carbon dioxide to do photosynthesis with chlorophyll and in presence of sunlight. So carbon dioxide gas is very important for all the plants and vegetation on the earth. So how the question will be asked from this topic? For this, the reason will be asked that carbon dioxide gas is used in soda manufacturing industry, or another way is when we are opening a cap of a soda bottle, some effervescences are coming out. What is the reason? Then we have to mention that carbon dioxide gas, how they are filling it, and when we are opening a cap, pressure is released and carbon dioxide gas is coming out. That's why that sound is coming and we can see that effervescence of the carbon dioxide. Then for second use, the question can come is why we are using dry ice instead of ice which is manufactured from the water in refrigerant and preservation of food. Then we can mention the dry ice freezes faster and it will last long compared to water ice. So that's why we are using dry ice instead of the natural ice or instead of the ice made up of water. Then for baked food, the question can be asked that carbon dioxide has a huge application in baking industry or in to make a baked food. Then we can write that baking powder what they are using for the bread or pastry is we are making from this reaction where the carbon dioxide gas is important ingredient. Then in fire extinguisher also carbon dioxide is used. Why? Because it is non-supporter of combustion, it is not combustible, and that's why we are using it in fire extinguisher. And the last one is very easy, that why the carbon dioxide gas is important for vegetation and all the plants on the planet. Then we need to mention this reason that in photosynthesis plants are using the carbon dioxide. So this is how the question can be asked from the uses, or sometimes directly they will ask it 2 mark that mention the 4 uses of carbon dioxide. All the reasons and questions I have mentioned in a comment down below. Please check the pinned comment for more questions. Now let us see that how fire extinguisher actually work. This is a fire extinguisher, and in this small test tube like we have taken concentrated H2SO4, and in this vessel we have taken sodium hydrogen carbonate, sodium bicarbonate. So when we will pull this valve, at that time this concentrated sulfuric acid will mix with sodium bicarbonate, and this reaction will give us carbon dioxide gas. Now this carbon dioxide gas will be in liquid form, where when this reaction is happening, at that time the carbon dioxide will be in liquid form and it will liberate it through this nozzle. It comes out through this nozzle, and till that time it will be in solution form. When it comes out with pressure, when it comes out, it will freezes and it will give a white snowy dry ice. So when the reaction will happen in between sodium hydrogen carbonate and concentrated H2SO4, it will give us liquid carbon dioxide. When it comes out from pressurized container to open area, this liquid will become a white snowy dry ice. Earlier in application we have seen that when it comes out or when it is in under pressure and immediately it comes out, then it will form a dry ice. So it has application and it is used in electrical and oil generated fires, because we cannot use water when fire is through electrical fault or it is because of the oil. On the spot we can make a dry ice and we can use it. So we have studied carbon dioxide, its chemical and physical properties, how can we prepare it via laboratory method, and some other information. The same way we are going to learn the carbon monoxide. So first, who discovered the carbon monoxide? So the Lasso was the scientist who produced carbon monoxide with the help of reaction between zinc oxide and wood charcoal. So he burnt zinc oxide and wood charcoal and he produced carbon monoxide in the laboratory. Cruikshank was the another scientist who found out a basic structure of carbon monoxide. We know that it is carbon and oxygen. This is a molecular formula of carbon monoxide. Now, the occurrence of carbon monoxide is whenever we are burning coke, coal or any petroleum product, the carbon dioxide gas is generated, but along with it, some of the carbon dioxide will get reduced to carbon monoxide, and this is how the carbon monoxide will be generated. So carbon, when it will burn with oxygen, we will get carbon dioxide and heat will be generated. This carbon dioxide will further reduce to carbon monoxide. Why it is reduction? Because here carbon was attached with 2 oxygen and after reduction 1 oxygen has been removed. So here it is CO, here it is CO2. So removal of oxygen is termed as reduction. So further this carbon dioxide is reduced to carbon monoxide and this is a reduction reaction. So all the petroleum products and burning of coke, coal will generate carbon monoxide in the environment. Let us understand now laboratory preparation of carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide gas is a highly poisonous gas. So generally we are not manufacturing it or preparing it in laboratory and it is not advisable to do so. But even if we are doing it, then it has to be under constant supervision and with proper precaution. So here in a round bottom flask we have taken concentrated H2SO4. One Thiesel funnel is there from which formic acid is dropwise we are adding to concentrated H2SO4 and we have to heat it. So in concentrated H2SO4 dropwise we are adding formic acid. So what will happen? This is a reaction, that this is a molecular formula of formic acid. So from this concentrated H2SO4 is dehydrating agent and it will take out the water molecule from this formula. So one molecule of formic acid will give us one molecule of water. So this OH and this H. So this will be removed by concentrated H2SO4 and remaining this CO is our product. So here when they are reacting together, this gas whatever is generated, first we are passing it through caustic potash or potassium hydroxide. Why? Because if in case any carbon dioxide gas has been generated in this, that has to be eliminated. So we are adding this gas delivery tube to concentrated KOH, that is caustic potash, or we can also say potassium hydroxide. So it will absorb whatever carbon dioxide impurity will be there in that, and again whatever carbon monoxide gas will be there will go to this water bath, and we are collecting carbon monoxide gas by downward displacement of water. Again, this is a formula of formic acid. When it is mixing with concentrated H2SO4. H2SO4 is dehydrating agent which will eliminate water molecule from formic acid. So it will give us carbon monoxide and water. But sometimes carbon dioxide gas will also generate it. So that will get absorbed in this caustic potash. So first we are adding this delivery tube into this concentrated KOH solution. So whatever impurities of carbon dioxide will be there, that will get absorbed. And remaining carbon monoxide, the pure monoxide gas, carbon monoxide gas will come to this water bath. And here we are collecting carbon monoxide gas by downward displacement of water. Why we are collecting it with water? Because it is insoluble in water and it is quite heavy. So we are collecting it with water and we are collecting it with downward displacement of water. Let's first discuss the physical properties of carbon monoxide. And as we know, it is colorless and odorless gas. It is tasteless. When we are talking about its density, then it is as heavy as air. Then it is sparingly soluble in water. That means its solubility is very low. It liquefies under high pressure and low temperature. And its boiling point is -192 degrees Celsius. And it is highly poisonous gas. Now we will see some chemical properties of carbon monoxide. It is combustible gas, but it does not undergo thermal decomposition. That means it is a quite stable molecule. It is neutral to a litmus paper. That means red litmus paper will remain red and blue litmus paper will remain blue. Then chemical reaction with non-metal, it will react. So carbon monoxide will react with oxygen and form carbon dioxide and lot of heat will be generated. Then with hydrogen, it will react in presence of zinc oxide and 450 degrees Celsius temperature, and it will give us methanol. This is CH3OH. So this reaction is important. This can be asked in complete the reaction. Then with metal, it will react. When carbon monoxide will react with nickel, it will form NiCO4 and the name of this compound is nickel carbonate. Then with steam also it will react, and as a catalyst we are using Fe2O3, and at 450 degrees Celsius it will give us carbon dioxide and hydrogen gas. We can absorb carbon monoxide gas in ammoniacal cuprous chloride solution and it will get absorbed in that, and as an addition product we will get cuprous 1 chloride, carbon monoxide dihydrated. So this is absorption reaction. This is also important. So we have seen this reaction in Bosch process to manufacture hydrogen gas, and in that we are using this solution, ammoniacal cuprous chloride solution, we are using to eliminate the impurity of carbon monoxide gas. Then it also used in reduction reaction. When zinc oxide is there, it will react with carbon monoxide and we will get zinc metal, and carbon monoxide will form carbon dioxide. So as a reducing reagent also we are using carbon monoxide. So these were some of the important chemical reaction of carbon monoxide. This can be asked in complete the reaction or from word equation to molecular equation. Now we will study one important reason that why carbon monoxide is a highly poisonous gas. So what will happen when carbon monoxide we will inhale? So generally when oxygen we are inhaling air, and from that our respiratory system will take up oxygen, and that oxygen will react with our blood hemoglobin and form one compound named oxyhemoglobin. So this will go to or reaches to various tissues and they will take up the oxygen from this. So this is a general procedure in our respiratory system. But when carbon monoxide gas we will inhale, then it will interfering with the role of pigment as a role of oxygen carrier. So carbon monoxide will react with hemoglobin and form a stable compound named carboxyhemoglobin. And once this hemoglobin will react with carbon monoxide, it will form stable compound, so that molecule of hemoglobin will no longer able to take up oxygen or no longer able to react with oxygen. So this carboxyhemoglobin is a stable compound, and because of this we will not be able to take up oxygen, and in turn our tissues will not get oxygen. So person dies due to lack of oxygen, because one molecule and similarly so many molecules will form carboxyhemoglobin, and this stable molecule is no longer available as a carrier of oxygen. So person will die due to lack of oxygen. Carbon monoxide is not generating any kind of poison to our body, but it is forming stable compound. In turn, this will create deficiency of oxygen in our body, and this situation is known as asphyxia, and because of this person will die with suffocation and it may result in unconsciousness. So what all are the situation in which person will expose to carbon monoxide? When people in village will sleep in a closed room with coal burning, or they will put a lamp which is burning. So whenever any burning is happening with limited amount of air, and that will produce carbon monoxide, because burning will not get sufficient air. In turn, it will not get sufficient oxygen for burning. So instead of forming carbon dioxide, it will form carbon monoxide, and this is injurious. Second is exhaust fume. Any coal burning or petroleum burning and exhaust flame of any vehicle will consist of some traces of carbon monoxide. Then tobacco burning is also consist of some traces of carbon monoxide. So whenever any burning is happening, even if it is in open air and insufficient air, then it will contain some traces of carbon monoxide. And when any burning is happening in insufficient air, means there is no adequate quantity of air which will support the burning, then it will definitely create carbon monoxide, or it will definitely generate carbon monoxide. Then how can we treat a person who is a victim of carbon monoxide poisoning? Then doctors will give them artificial respiration, and which will contain 95% of oxygen and 5% of carbon dioxide. So timely treatment may save a person from death. So that is why a carbon monoxide gas is highly poisonous gas. If this reason has come in the exam, then you need to write these 3 points. That what is a role of oxygen, how carbon monoxide is interfering in it, and what will happen to a person who will inhale carbon monoxide gas. So these 3 points we need to mention there.